Hello and welcome to 502 Sessions. I'm Brian Kirby. My guest today is multi-instrumentalist, singer, songwriter, composer, producer, and heliocentrist George Hrab. George has written and produced 6 independent CDs, 1 concert DVD. He's recorded hundreds of episodes of an award-winning podcast. He's published 2 books, emceed countless science conferences, been a TEDx speaker, and has even performed for President Clinton. He's traveled to 4 continents promoting critical thinking, science, and skepticism through story and song. George is considered one of the preeminent skeptic, science, atheist, geek culture, music icons currently living in his apartment. George Hrab.
Just remember, everything alive will die someday, and that's okay. It's the great equating factor in the world. Like some desiccated tractor, we all run out of gas. This life can't last, 'cause everything alive will die someday. I used to worry that my folks would someday die, 'cause that meant if they could, then that meant so could I. Too young to handle this morose philosophy. I'd rather get high my way, climbing up a tree, and staring at the huge small world I could survey. I wondered what it'd feel like on that final day, then calculated the heartbeats left in my lot, then realized I'd best relax and just enjoy the time I've got. And I'd remember that everything alive will die someday, and that's okay. From the single cellular to grandiose, seems we're all destined to be toast. Every leaf, bush, shrub, and a tree will cease to be, 'cause everything alive will die someday. Every empire crumbles, every mammoth tumbles to the ground. Ally and enemy both kick the bucket equally. And in this truth there lies a fact. If you ignore those who distract, you might come to realize the fairness of unfairness is in everything's demise. You should remember that everything alive will die someday, and that's hard to say, but to me it's more a blessing than a curse. Is this a chorus or a weird verse? Every hand that's ever writ will up and quit, 'cause everything alive will die someday. But in the meantime, I get to see you smile, and that makes it okay for a while. To look into your eyes is worth the eventual demise of Earth and of every living cell. Oh, what the hell? We get to be like Deborah and Clive for a few days. That's right. Let's all remember that everything alive will die someday. But let me say, you shouldn't do just whatever you will. Don't ever cause any ill. An historic reversal. Don't you know this is the only chance you've got? It ought to mean an awful lot. This is the show and not some rehearsal. Talk of an extra inning implies this is just some beginning. But there's no prize you will be winning. Your existence is enough of a reward to keep you grinning, or at least it should be. what you think you know. What you think you know is often wrong. You don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in this song. You don't seal in juices by searing meat. You don't get headaches from too much MSG. There's a 50-day shelf life for each Twinkie, though you probably thought they'd last an eternity. The historical Buddha was not a fat guy. Sharks can get cancer before they die. And though some textbooks say it's true, the blood in your veins is at no point blue. You don't know what you think you know. What you think you know is often wrong. You don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in this song. Let them eat cake was never said by Marie Antoinette. Marco Polo did not bring home spaghetti. Just because dogs pant doesn't mean they don't sweat. The pads on their paws get a teeny tiny bit wet. Bats are not blind, they have limited sight. Did you know Napoleon was of average height? The Chevy Nova was a hit and did sell in Mexico and Venezuela as well. You don't know what you think you know. What you think you know is often wrong. You don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in this song. Edison did not invent the incandescent light. Ford did not invent the car or build the first assembly line site. And how about James Watt? Did he invent the steam engine? Not. And though I know that you swear that you say you've seen it, George Washington Carver did not invent the peanut. You don't know what you think you know. What you think you know is often wrong. You don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in this song. Sugar does not cause hyperactivity. Glass does not flow super slowly. Rust does not cause tetanus. You see, if you want to wake a sleepwalker, hey, feel free. Hair doesn't grow thick after it's shaved off. Cough medicine rarely ever helps a cough. Folks go on and on about the Parthenon, but the golden ratio was never ever drawn. You don't know what you think you know. I said, you don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in this song. Albert Einstein never failed a single math test. A cop doesn't have to say he's a cop if he's pressed. Milk doesn't cause phlegm to come up out of your chest. Lemmings don't kill themselves, who'd have guessed? It's okay to crack your knuckles, no damage will be done. You can taste everywhere on your tongue. Let me say one thing that no one can rebuke. A vomitorium's an exit and not a place to puke. You don't know what you think you know. What you think you know is often wrong. You don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in this song. Marconi did not invent the radio. Did Thomas Crapper invent the flush toilet? No, no, no. But using their brains and persistence, they improved stuff already in existence. And yet, for some reason, this myth remains that human beings only use 10% of their brains. Humans use 100% of their brains. Humans use 100% of their brains. Please stop saying humans only use 10%. Seriously, if there's one thing you take away from this silly little song, it's the simple fact that humans use 100% of their brains. Key change. You don't know what you think you know, but now you know what you think could be wrong. Now you know what you think could be wrong, cause you listen to all of the stuff in this song. And now we're all slightly less wrong. When I was your age, the phone was tied to the wall with a kinky, twisty 3.5-foot cord. It's hard to believe, but it had a ring that could not be turned off or ignored. You couldn't choose the sound of the ring, it was just the sound we called the phone. We'd never heard of a ringtone. When I was your age, our video games looked nothing like the illustrations on the box. All of the graphics consisted of nothing more than simple lines and dots. Missiles were just a few pixels, and the jungle swinging guy, he was a stick figure. Yeah, nothing bigger. When I was your age, when I was your When I was your age, we had this stuff called film. You would stick in a camera before you took a shot, and then you had to wait like a month until you could tell what pictures you got. You would hand the film to a guy in a parking lot who lived in a booth. Oh yes, it's the truth. When I was your age, you had to wait till the movie was either in the theater or on TV. If you wanted adventure, you couldn't rent adventure, you just had to wait and see. And once you were watching, you couldn't stop or pause or even try to rewind. But hey, we didn't mind. When I was your age, when I was your age, you see me as a grown-up, singing from the stage. I bet you can't believe I was ever your age. I was your age. When I was your age, I love watching Star Wars, but I hear you like Star Wars more than me. I wanted to be Indiana Jones, and Dr. Jones is who you aspire to be. And I love playing with Lego, and Lego are what you currently build and rearrange. I guess some things never change. When I was your age, I didn't like doing homework, but when it was finished, it always felt real good. I didn't like brushing my teeth, but I brushed my teeth because Bert and Ernie said that I should. I didn't like listening to Mom, though I knew deep inside it was the right thing to do. And hey, so do you. You know what's true before you can say boo. You'll be my age too.
502 Sessions. I'm here with George Hrab from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
That's
Is
right.
that correct?
That's right.
Originally from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania?
No, originally from West Orange, New Jersey.
Oh, not a
I
big
went to
move.
school in Bethlehem, and I never left. I loved the place so much, I just never left.
Let's talk about your music.
Sure.
We'll get right to that, and then we'll talk, because I
Please.
have to, because you know the songs are fresh, and I want to talk about all your experience too.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So, you're a multi-instrumentalist. Define that.
Well, okay, I play drums for a living. My
Oh.
career, the thing that gets Pop-Tarts onto my table is playing drums. I play in a 9-piece funk soul R&B band called the Philadelphia Funk Authority. That's been my job for the last 18 years. Drums, plugging away, carrying all the stuff, you know, the boxes of ignorance, as they call them, that you put in the back of your car. In college, sort of for fun, my roommate was a guitarist. He taught me a bunch of things on guitar. The jazz ensemble at Moravian, which is where I went to school, needed a bass player at one point. So I was like, I could figure that out, maybe, and not stink too bad. So I started playing bass, and then slowly picked up piano a little bit here and there. And yeah, so I mangle my way through these instruments, doing them from the sort of perspective of a drummer picking up another instrument. So there's a slightly different approach to than maybe a pure guitarist or a pure piano player, a good guitarist or a good piano player. So that's the thing.
Well, you play guitar like a guitarist. And actually, you
Oh,
play
really?
better than... No, I shouldn't say better, but we'll talk about the music part of it in a second.
okay.
So Moravian, that's college?
That's college. That was a college, yeah. They
So wait, let me get this straight though. It's
Yeah.
got a music school in it, and they couldn't find... I'm a bassist. They couldn't
Yeah.
find a bass player. There's no bass player there?
Go figure, right? They had to rely on a guy who was basically going, okay, it's E, and then I don't know. Yeah, that's basically what they were relying on. But
Wow.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the guy that asked me to play bass at the time was my professor, Neil Wetzel, Professor Wetzel. He's actually, all these years later, in the funk band with me. So all these years later, we're still working together, and he's still explaining to me which string is which. So it's very nice. So 20 years later, 25 whatever years later, he joined the band 2 years ago. So it's great.
Oh.
It's really cool. It's a big happy family.
So undergraduate in percussion?
Percussion
Drum?
performance, yeah.
Percussion performance. And you just picked up guitar.
Guitar was a way for me to still have a musical interest without it being structured. I was practicing a decent amount percussion-wise in terms of pedagogical things and repertoire and things like that. So doing a pretty focused study of that, which was very clinical in terms of you go and you get a practice room for 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever it is you're blocking, you do it. Guitar was fun because I was like, I don't want to take lessons. I just want to make mistakes and learn weirdness but still stretch my musical brain a little bit. So it was like a way to get away from working on music, but still work on music. So that was the approach.
So I don't know what to talk about first, the music or the songs, meaning, so you wrote, interestingly, you put in your bio singer, songwriter, composer, which is interesting because I guess songs technically have words, tunes technically don't. So you're a songwriter because they have words, and you're a composer because you compose songs or tunes without.
Yeah, I mean, there's a significant amount of the songs on my albums are instrumentals, just because I'm from, being a drummer, coming up in the 80s, 70s and 80s, obviously listening to Rush, listening to Yes, listening to Genesis, listening to Peter Gabriel, listening to Frank Zappa. I discovered Frank Zappa in college and just thought, wow. And his idea of what a composer can be, and that it's all one big composition, it's all one big thing. So I humbly write that I'm a composer because I'd like to think that, yeah, there is a level of compository practice that goes into arranging, writing, whatever, maybe melodic writing, harmonic writing. So composer, humbly composer.
Well, let's talk about the music. So, and I guess I'll lump lyrics and music together.
Sure.
So the words are complicated. You're telling a story like many guitarists do, but they're very interesting lyrics. The music is interesting too. I mean, to have a singer-songwriter in here with a really wide range of harmonic knowledge.
Right.
I'm not taking anything away from the folk musicians
sure.
that I've had or that will come on the show, but you don't use a capo.
Right.
So you don't keep tuning all the time because of that. You're voicing the chords, but kind of in a jazz style. They're not rootless voicings unless you're thinking something else behind them.
Right. I mean, there is a jazz approach. I mean, when I discovered that I could play standards, and I have this almost obscene love of the American songbook. All Rodgers and Hammerstein, and just these songs that are written almost like interesting puzzles. They're these very interesting puzzles that have been solved by these writers in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Lyrically, they're interesting. There's always some little twist of a lyrical cleverness to them, and then harmonically, they're based on a standard system in terms of what's happening. And there's things that repeat 2-5-1s and all kinds of harmonic ideas, but there still are these lovely little traps that they put themselves into that they need to work themselves out of. Which discovering that when I got a little more proficient on guitar, a little more proficient on piano. And could go and re-listen to that Frank Sinatra album that I had as a kid that I would listen to, with Count Basie Live at the Sands.
Oh, that is a great.
Oh my God, forget about it. It's just ridiculous. Let alone, I mean, Billy May is my favorite arranger who does all not the Nelson Riddle arrangements, which are a little bit more syrupy for my taste. Billy May was the guy who did the cranking okay. Trumpets basically play until the walls cave in. That's what we're going to go for, So coming from that approach and applying it to the instrument, and like you said, there's nothing wrong with a 3-chord song, and that's its own sort of magical skill to be able to do that, to have a career like Bruce Springsteen, which in essence is 3, 4, 5 chords. Do that for 40 years. That's pretty amazing. To me personally, I just find the interesting harmonic stuff more interesting and more challenging personally. And those D, G, C tunes have been done a lot, and it also relates to the topics that I write about. I don't write a lot about love and relationships. I write more about weird animals or weird scientific things because I feel there's so many love songs. There's so many songs about relationships. So it's been a bit of a conscious choice to kind of have lyrical content, which is a little bit different, and harmonic content, at least in this. I mean, now, put me in front of any real jazz player, and they'll obviously they could critique my playing till the cows come home, but in terms of what you normally hear, single person sitting with a guitar playing, singing songs, it's a little bit different. Yeah,
not coffee shop music.
And yet hopefully still funny or accessible or singable. Singable is the thing that is so interesting to me, to be able to have a weird bed upon which a singable melody sits. That to me, that's why I love Yes so much, because Yes there's all this weirdness going on underneath, and John Anderson is on top singing these very catchy, singable melodies, and I love that. I love that, the dichotomy and the duality of it.
So your lyrics are rhythmically interesting. The words are interesting, and then the melody becomes interesting. So you're talking about playing chords. Are you playing, I usually ask about writing, so let me think about how I want to phrase this question. Are you writing lyrics with a rhythmic lilt, and then you fit a melody and some chords? Are you working on some chords and?
It's all of it. It's all, there is no singular process. And the stock answer, people always ask, which is first, lyrics, words, or how do you get your ideas?
Well, because some people will write a poem and set it to
Sure.
So some of these 3-chord acts, it's really a story they're telling. And the music's a vehicle. So here it's like, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes if there is a specific, jokes tend to be written ahead of time, because jokes where you have a setup and a punchline in a verse, you have to have the punchline, and that's got to be there. So that tends to be more prepared ahead of time in terms of before I come to the guitar, or I'll establish sort of this idea of, okay, this is the basic structure and here's how the jokes are going to work, if there are going to be jokes in this song. And then I write all that out, I figure that all out. But what I love is that language has an inherent rhythm to it anyway. I mean, there's, being in college and studying Steve Reich, who would take transcriptions of conversations and then write them out musically. It's the coolest stuff. It just blows your mind, So he'll take someone talking about whatever, a train, here comes the train conductor. Here comes the train conductor. Here comes the da-da-da-da. And it's like, that's inherently within the language. There are notes, there are pitches that are just sort of embedded in there. I love that. I love finding rhythms that sort of naturally exist in conversation, and then inserting them into the form of a song. And what I love, or what I hate, depending on how you look at it, is making those syllables fit into the pre-established structure of the song.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, which is the song "Everything Alive Will Die Someday." There's the bridge, and I remember I was sitting in a coffee shop of all places, and I had 11 spaces, just lines written on a page, and I knew I had 11 syllables I had to fill in this one bridge, and it took 4 hours to get those 11 syllables to make them sort of fit and work, and I just kept trying, and I was like, I'm not leaving until I get this damn line, So it's, and then when it works, it's like, oh, okay, great. I also love the free-flowing association lyrics of a Joni Mitchell or someone that it just flows and flows. I love listening to that. I don't particularly like writing that kind of stuff. I do occasionally, but to me, the puzzle aspect, like those standards are a puzzle. The puzzle is, I got 15 syllables, and I get this joke across, or I got to make it rhyme, or I got to get this point across. How do we do it? And that's the beauty of language, my love of language, and trying to make all these things fit.
So 4 hours isn't so bad. So you will get stumped, and I was thinking, I'm not sure if you'd call it stumped or not, but I was thinking as the lyrics are flowing by, and there's the rhythm, and there's the message, there's the lyric.
The content, yeah.
The content,
yeah.
That's a better term. There's a content.
Right.
Do you work with the thesaurus? Do you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah. Rhyming dictionary. Rhyming dictionary is great, because especially online, because you put your word in, and it's like, oh, okay. It'll let you think of some other way. And I used to never do that until...
Feel like it's cheating or something?
A little bit, yeah. On some level, I thought it was cheating, and then I thought, well, wait a minute. I could sit and probably come up with those 15 words.
Yeah, you can't know everything all the time.
Right. Either that, or I could do that in an hour. I could probably think of every word that rhymes with soliloquy. I could probably come up and figure out what rhymes with whatever, banana. I could do it. But is it more efficient if there's a resource?
Yeah, right.
In the same way that you could look and figure out, if I'm writing an orchestrational piece for someone and I got to figure out, okay, what are the strings on a violin? I don't even know. Oh, okay, they're this. Yeah, I would look it up, as opposed to put it to memory or something. So to me, it's just another tool. It's another tool to be able to say, okay, rhyming dictionary, thesaurus maybe, occasionally a thesaurus, but rhyming dictionary, online rhyming dictionary is, to any songwriters out there, online rhyming dictionary. Oh my gosh, it's just.
I think this is you over here.
Is this me?
Yeah.
Online rhyming dictionary. Yeah, because it's great, and if anything, it just lets you even just think of a different. It'll present something to you that might open up your brain a little bit and get you out of a rut, because it's such torture sometimes. It is such torture.
Let me ask specifically about the Misconception song.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but think when I listened to it that you were fed up with common knowledge.
Somewhat, yeah. There's this idea of well, everybody knows that blah, and often blah is not true.
Right.
You know,
Common knowledge usually isn't knowledge.
Yeah, or is that? Well, I have a thing. Common knowledge is rarely either.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and just stuff was being repeated all the time. And then as you discover things that you thought were true, like the idea of glass flowing slowly. Like for years, I thought this idea that glass is a super liquid, whatever they call it, and that it slowly flows. And if you go to a 200 or 300-year-old church and you tap on the window, you'll notice it's thicker at the bottom than it is at the top. And this is proof. Obviously, it's flowing super slowly, well, no. It's not. It's not. But this is still taught like in science classes.
It is?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you mean, like cement is always curing, right? It's all.
Yeah.
That's different.
That's different.
So people
yeah.
think that glass is always curing too?
That it's flowing. Yeah,
it's never in a solid state.
It's never in a purely solid state. Yeah.
Oh,
which
that one I hadn't heard.
For decades I thought that.
And it's taught in science?
It's taught in science classes, or at least it's taught sort of telling story-wise, or a teacher will say, or tour guides will say, so here's proof of this idea that glass is thicker at the bottom in an old church, but it's not. When they installed glass, from the old churches when they were building and making windows 200, 300 years ago, the process wasn't as good. There was always one thicker end than the other, and that's what you put on the bottom because you didn't want the thing collapsing on itself. So it's like, oh, that's a
there's a reason for it?
Fabulous, and I love that kind of stuff. And there's tons of things like that. So another example, you talk about a rhyming dictionary. You go to Wikipedia and you say common misperceptions, and it gives you this list of 400 common misperceptions. It's like, oh, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Okay, and now you sit and you write, and hopefully make it rhyme, and hopefully make it a little funny, and then you have a song, hopefully.
And so by exposing the world to this, you're not concerned about men in black cars coming to your apartment and
bring it on.
Helicopters hovering overhead. Hey, we're gonna get all that George Hrab guy is really blowing.
If they have nothing better to do, if the secret world government has nothing better to do than to come talk to me, please, my door's open. I would gladly have a roundtable with them anytime.
All right, George Hrab on 502 Sessions. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for supporting music like this too. It's really important, and thank you for doing it.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm incredibly thrilled that you came up. We probably don't have time to talk about how we met, but maybe after this set.
Sure.
Let's get on with some more music.
Sounds good.
All right, George Hrab, 502 Sessions.
How do you do what you do after dealing with what's done? Smiling statue standing tall while I turn tail and run. How do you do what you do with the crap cards you're dealt? Turning deuces into kings while dealers bite the felt. Oh no, not me, I can barely talk. Oh no, not me, I can't chew gum and walk. How do you hear what you hear after hearing what you heard? Endless optimism despite cruel concluding word. How do you hear what you hear when all I hear is bunk? Pitching perfect melodies while others pitch out junk. Oh no, not me, while you sing I shout, headphones roll tape, but no words come out. So talented it makes you sick. So talented it must be a trick. Out of the park with each at bat. Tell me, how can I be like that? How do you see what you see after seeing what you saw? Effortless enjoyment while I stare with open jaw. How do you see what you see from every single side? Calmly catching what you seek while I count 10 and hide. Oh no, not me. What you are, I ain't. Dub me mediocrity's patron saint. talented it makes you cry. So talented and such a nice guy, right through the goalposts with each attempt. Tell me, why do I feel exempt? Just when I thought I had the answers, one little question still rings true. Won't somebody kindly tell me, how do you do the things you do? So talented it makes you think, so talented it'll drive me to drink. Singular head with multiple hats. Tell me, why can't I be like that? How do you do what you do? How do you do what you do? One-way streets and pre-sleep drips fill the trip with anticipation. Cautious calls during a busy fall through the all of past times. Recollections on the phone of not being alone, of passing ships and skip trips and paid debts and lost pets. Man, it's good to hear your voice, nicely sized and mildly spiced. 50 stories told while 50 stories high. They are something, but they don't know what that something really is. Could it be that so much time has passed right by? Could it be that so much time has passed right by? A dozen should do nicely. I know it's pricey, but the pleasure outweighs the cost. Adult conversation, abrupt relocation, a new dispensation to fill the calendar's empty squares. Smiling stares and pulled out chairs, beginning from the last and what's past and lots cast and nicely sized and mildly spiced. 50 stories told while 50 stories high. They are something, but they don't know what that something really is. Could it be that so much time has passed right by? Could it be that so much time has passed right by's been said so many times. Here's to hello. Spiced and nicely sized. 50 stories told while 50 stories high. There are something, but they don't know what that something really is. Could it be that so much time has passed right by? How could it be that so much time has passed right by's been said too many times. Here's to hello. Here's to hello. Here's to hello. Here's to hello. don't believe in heaven. I know that there's no hell. I don't think you've gone anywhere. I guess that's just as well. 'Cause I want to remember the last look in your eye. It was the best and worst thing to get to say goodbye to you. They say we're not supposed to comprehend, but I want to know more. Being there with you at the end was a pain I had hoped for. Did you know where you were going? Did you like the time you'd spent? I wish that you'd stayed longer, but that's not how it went. Now I know there's no forever, but of all the hearts I've met, I think the place we ended up was as close as one could get to June. They say we're not supposed to understand, but that doesn't help me. Watching you leave by my own hand were the cards that were dealt me. Some would blame the dealer, some would blame the deal, some would make up stories that never could be real. I know when you left you were glad to be back home. I think that you knew you would never be alone. I've no need for heaven or some eternal bluff. I prefer what's real, and what we had here was enough. I'm glad I get to miss you, but that you can never miss me. Thinking you'll wake up and see us is your eternity. It's a small comfort. I miss you. I miss you. I love.
502 Sessions, back with George Hrab. I want to talk more about George Hrab,
Okay.
which I guess we were doing
Why?
anyway. But
Why would you? Oh my gosh.
But first, let's the comfort song,
Yes, Small Comfort.
Small Comfort. What a great song.
Oh, thank
Can
you.
you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, the first and only dog I've had so far was a boxer by the name of Oscar, and he was the coolest dog ever, and I fell madly in love with him. And just as all dog owners know, as all pet owners know, it comes a point where you have to say goodbye. It's a very curious relationship with pets in terms of it's the only one you enter that you know exactly how it's going to end. And it came time, and we had to say goodbye to Oscar, and it really affected me, and I wanted to write something for it. And it took a long, long time, and I wrote that song, and it was this idea, the only bit of solace I found in his passing, as someone who personally doesn't believe in an afterlife, doesn't believe in any kind of heaven, was that his part of our relationship was done, so he didn't have to miss me. I got to miss him. Once I had that idea, that concept, then the whole song kind of came out of me pretty quickly. It took a while because everything else was quite saccharine and maudlin in terms of writing, the missing your loved one kind of song. So that concept came to me, and I wrote it. And it's curious in that it really connects with a lot of people, and it's a subject that doesn't get brought up much in the sort of circles that I deal, the scientific circles that I deal with, the skeptical circles that I deal with. This idea of grief and loss. And so whenever I play it, people really tend to get into it and connect with it, and it's dubbed the sniffle song, because whenever I'm playing it, I'll sort of hear someone crying over there and someone crying over there, hear this, and then they come up to me afterwards and like, yeah, my cat just died, my pet just died, someone played this at a friend's funeral. They said, you know, could you send me the chords because I'd love to play it at my friend's funeral. I couldn't have been more honored. I said, of course. So it's quite the opposite of many songs that I do in terms of the jokey kind of fun, silly stuff, but it's an important one for me and was part of the therapy that music provides.
I can relate to the song. Speaking of traveling in skeptic circles, let's talk about that for a little bit. So how do you go from Mr. Percussion Major to MC at TAM, The Amazing Meeting, and PsyCon, Committee for Skeptical Inquirer Conference?
It's a series of absolutely improbable events and mistakes that sort of...
Like the universe.
Exactly like the universe. And I just talked about this, as a matter of fact, about the power of saying yes. This all started because I was supposed to do a concert. I was supposed to do a little performance at a sci-fi convention, a popular TV sci-fi convention. And because my record label is Geologic Records, that's the name of my fake record company, someone saw that on the science track, who was running a geology lecture, and said, oh, George Hrab from geologicrecords.net is going to be here. We should ask him to do a geology lecture.
Wait, so just slow this down. So you were going to the science conference just as an act in between speakers?
Just not even to do. I knew some podcasting friends. And they said, come on down.
Sing a
we'll
song.
get you a slot. We'll give you a 45-minute slot. You'll sing a couple tunes. Your science nerd songs. It'd be great.
And then somebody noticed it on the program.
Someone noticed in the machinations of the behind the scenes of listings of who's going to be performing. They saw geologicrecords.net and they thought that guy must be a geologist. While he's here in Atlanta, let's have him do a lecture. And they got in touch and said, could you do a lecture on geology? And my initial reaction was like, well, no. But then I thought about it and I said, well, like what topic? And they said, well, we want to do a thing about how we know the Earth is older than 6,000 years. And I was like, I can do that. Yeah, why not? I said, now, I'm letting you know I'm not a geologist, but I would love to do it as a fan of science, as someone who, you know, as a layman, how would I approach that conversation with someone who believes the Earth is 6,000 years old? So I did it, and there happened to be someone in the audience who ran one of these conventions, and we spoke afterwards, and he said, we do these little convention things, and we have speakers. Would you do, like, you're a musician? Yeah, oh, wow. Would you do some songs between speakers? Like, sure. I did that for a couple of years, and then it was just you start meeting people, and they realize, oh, you got an okay voice, you can do announcements. Well, like, yeah, actually, I do announcements with the band, so I know how to MC and stuff like that, and boom, boom, boom. And then you just keep saying yes. You keep saying yes, and you end up eventually literally meeting your heroes, meeting guys like James Randi, meeting guys like, Penn and Teller, and these incredible scientists and skeptical thinkers, Adam Savage from the Mythbusters, meeting these guys and talking to them for a second and realizing they're as cool as you hope they are, and they actually are that.
So this is not a case of where you don't want to meet your heroes.
No, I am so glad that almost to a person I can say that the people I've met have been wonderful, and it's quite mind-numbing how cool some of these people. I mean, Adam Savage. Adam Savage always told me never name drop. No. He could not be cooler. He just could not be a nicer, cooler, more interesting human being than what he is, or like a James Randi who you've met. He's 87
He's 88,
now.
but he feels 86. He told me.
That's right. Exactly. Just nice.
Actually, he didn't tell me. He said that on stage. Not one of the things he told me. So.
But they're interesting people, and I think the mutual admiration of the reason that we are in the same room at these conventions outweighs any kind of celebrity ego or anything. That we're there celebrating critical thinking. We're there celebrating the power of science, the power of reason, sort of outweighs everything else. And so everyone in that room is sort of a family member for that time.
I must say, if you don't mind, it was shocking. It was my first conference or convention. I'm not sure what they call it. But you couldn't help it if you see somebody that you've read standing there in the hallway. And I would just go, you're Paul Offit.
Yeah.
And
right.
and they were like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
So, and
it's
you could
amazing.
talk to them.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really cool. And I feel like my job now as the person behind the stage or on stage is a sort of fan liaison. Because I'm still the biggest fan of all these people. I'm still the biggest fan of science and critical thinking. And I get to report through my podcast sort of like, this is what's going on, and like, this was great, and this is what happened here, and this was so amazing, oh my God. And I get to be a fanboy, but I get to sort of be a part of it at the same time. So I feel like I'm an ambassador to the people that are still sort of fans that might not have my particular skill set.
Another interesting thing about the conference was that I knew this, but there's so much I want to read that I won't have time for.
No,
And
I know.
So I have a library at home. I call it a library, but I have a lot of books that I haven't read, a lot of books I've read, and I keep getting more books.
It's overwhelming, but it's there. You know it's always there, which is one nice thing that you're never done. That's why someone like James Randi at 88 still seems like he's 15, because I think he's still discovering stuff and is still excited by concepts and excited by how the world actually works, how the universe actually works.
Well, that kind of relates to music, at least from my perspective, because no matter how good you get, there's always more.
My high school band director told me, said, because I was fretting at 15 that like I wasn't good enough. I was already fretting that like, oh.
You're going to think that way the rest of your life.
Well, he told me, he said, George, there's always going to be someone better, and there's always going to be someone worse. Always, no matter what level you get to, there will always be someone better, and enjoy that. That's a gift. That means that you're never done. That means that you will never accomplish. I mean, even if you were to go on and be incredibly successful in terms of however you measure success, you can always write something better. You can always do something outside of your comfort zone. You can always do something more interesting, and that to me is invigorating.
It is invigorating. At some points in my life, it became also frustrating.
Absolutely.
Because the better you get, the more difficult it is to get better.
Sure.
So, there's a huge...
The quantum leaps kind of stop.
Right.
There's that curve, absolutely. But
part of it also is just as a bassist, there's a big part of just staying physically fit. Just maintaining your ability to play the axe, let alone...
Yeah. Well, look at Tony Levin. You know Tony Levin?
Yeah.
70 years old. He had his 70th birthday. He's on tour with King Crimson now.
I did not know that.
A monster. The stuff they're playing on stage now is so incredibly complex and beautiful and fascinating and vibrant and interlocked and creative. Some of it is 40 years old. Some of it is 4 weeks old, what they're playing. I see that and I think, okay, yeah, I'm going to try in my microscopic level to be Tony Levin at 70, Look, everything valuable, or actually everything not valuable, everything has a price. The more valuable it is, the greater the price. So if you want to be Tony Levin at 70 playing, or you want to be at that point where you can have a creative idea or push yourself and get past your frustration, you're going to pay for it with lots of frustration, with lots of effort. But boy, when you pay that price, when you sit and figure out those 11 syllables for 4 hours, it's worth it. It's worth it because it's like, okay, I've put the time in, and there we go. So it can be very frustrating. It can be very frustrating. But I think having the goal or the idea that there is not necessarily a singular goal, but progress is a wonderful thing to hang on to.
George Hrab, thank you for being here on 502 Sessions. I'm actually quite honored that you made the trip, and I was very impressed with your performance as MC. I guess I don't know if you consider that a performance.
That's a performance, sure.
But you were one of the people that I was kind of scared to approach, believe it or not.
I can be intimidating, yes. I know.
No, it wasn't. You weren't intimidating at all. But
yeah.
I was, does this guy really want to be bothered?
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. We had a lovely chat during that brunch, and it was or during that lunchtime. It was. I love it, and that's again why I love those conferences. So yeah. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for supporting music played by real human beings. It's very important.
Well, you're welcome. 502 Sessions, my guest today has been, I won't go through the whole, multi-instrumentalist, singer, songwriter, composer, producer, and author, and heliocentrist.
There you go.
George Hrab. So 502 Sessions is all about original music. So if you're a solo musician or you're in a band and you have a lot of original music that you'd like to perform, don't hesitate to contact me. You can reach me at 502sessions@gmail.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You want to play us out one more song?
Am I allowed to? That'd be great.
Yes, that would be great.
Wonderful. I'd love to.
Thank you. Once again, George Hrab.
I sit in the park and play. Folks walk up to me and sometimes say, "Hey, play something. Go on, give us a show. Is there something you've written that we might all know?" And I say, "You've never heard of me, no, not a word from me. Everything that I have made remains all unshown. A title you request must surely be in jest. I promise you I am completely unknown. But this is the song I play to try and appease. I haven't got long, okay, at least you said please. You've never heard me sing or seen me do anything, and when I am done you won't remember my name. I'll play if you insist, there's no point to resist, but you will be unimpressed by my lack of fame. So this is the song I'll choose if you ask me to play. You'll nod and smile politely, then you'll turn and walk away. Why don't you turn and walk away? I won't be famous anytime soon, but I can play a pretty fine tune. I won't be famous anytime soon, but I can play a pretty fine tune. I never do complain at my lack of fame. I would rather walk the mall anonymously. I'm sure you're unimpressed by my lack of abs and chest, but I still hope you will like my chords and melody. They say we each have one thing at which we do excel. My one thing is I know the house band's way better in hell, way better in hell. I won't be famous anytime soon, but I can play a pretty fine tune. I won't be famous anytime soon, but I can play a pretty fine tune. So these are the lyrics you'll never email to your friends. But don't feel bad for me, I know how this story ends. I won't be famous anytime soon, but I can play a pretty fine tune. I won't be famous anytime soon, but I can play a pretty fine tune. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la da da da, la 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 la. You don't know what you think you know. What you think you know is often wrong. You don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in this song. You don't seal in juices by searing meat. You don't get headaches from too much MSG. There's a 50-day shelf life for each Twinkie, though you probably thought they'd last an eternity. The historical Buddha was not a fat guy. Sharks can get cancer before they die. And though some textbooks say it's true, the blood in your veins is at no point blue. You don't know what you think you know. What you think you know is often wrong. You don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in this song. Let them eat cake was never said by Marie Antoinette. Marco Polo did not bring home spaghetti. Just because dogs pant doesn't mean they don't sweat the pads.